Okay, good evening, everybody. We have here two experts in the business realm. The reason why we are making this video and we're making this meeting is because we feel that the times which we're in are very difficult times and very uncertain times for many people. Many people have businesses and aren't exactly sure about what is taking place, what they can do, what they can't do. Not sure who they can ask. Not sure what's out there for them to support them. So therefore, we've got these two great people. So we have a businessman, an accountant, and a rabbi sitting at a bar, all social distanced. And we are going to now ask them a few questions. And together we shall learn together what is the best practice that we'll be able to have for our businesses and for our economy. So the first thing is, of course, please, Leigh-Anne, you shall begin. Who are you and what are your expertise?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Leigh-Anne Meyerowitz. I'm a director and partner at Schaffer Partners. We are a financial group who specializes in total financial solutions for all our clients, both individuals and businesses. And we specialize in areas of tax, business services, financial planning, lending, insurances, and superannuation. So as I said to you, we want to make sure you're financially well organized across everything and help the businesses.
All right, beautiful. Lance.
Yes, my name's Leigh-Anne Schaffer. I've been in business for a good 25 years, mainly in the retail realm, but also in wholesale, manufacturing, and that sort of thing. I've been involved with corporate businesses, running a large IT company, corporates like Shell Oil, Ericsson, and those kind of size businesses, all the way down to much smaller businesses that would use our software, and then also being in retail, dealing with the public day to day.
All right, very nice. So we're going to have a few just questions just to be able to break the ice, to give a bit of perspective. So the question, of course, this is, I don't know whether it's a silly question or not, but do you think these times are unprecedented? All right, so Leigh-Anne, go.
Yes, really unprecedented times, times like I've never seen before. Very challenging, and a lot of people are quite anxious. So it's really important that we all pull together and help each other through these times, because we will definitely get through it. It's a dip and we'll come out the other side and we'll be stronger on the other side.
All right. And Lance, from your experience in business?
So definitely unprecedented. But I wanted to say that these kinds of things excite me so much, because if you view it as this thing has not taken away from us, but think about what it's given. There's so many opportunities, so many of the old rules and so many of the old ways of doing things we can't do anymore. So there's so many opportunities. And if you think about the Great Depression, that's when so much money was made, where people were awake enough to look for the opportunities and then take advantage of those opportunities, instead of going, oh God, what can we do now? We've got this problem and that problem. Just thinking about, well, how can we do it better? What can we do different? And what are people looking for? So for me, it's, even though it's rough and it's difficult, when things are difficult, that's when you grow. And I feel like this is the time. And we can really, if we view it in that particular way, especially from a business point of view, this is now the time to do things better and to just get better at what we do and be stronger for it on the other end.
Yep.
All right. What do you think is the greatest challenge that stands in front of everyone going forward? All right. Tomorrow there's a meeting from the government. Many of the there's going to be a lot of easing in the restrictions which we have. People are going to start going back to business. What is going to be the major challenge which they're going to have?
From my point of view, kickstarting the economy again, because, you know, the economy has sort of gone into hibernation as such, and now we need to get it started again. It's different to how it was literally only 8 weeks ago. It's different. And that's going to be our challenge moving forward, is just getting the economy going again and keep having jobs and opportunities for everybody. That's what we want for everyone.
All right.
That's right. I think that, just going back to what I said before, I think the biggest anxiety for people is what's going to happen? What are the rules? How do we work this? How do we work that? And again, I say, that's where the opportunity is. There's no rules. So let's make up ones that work for us. Make up ones that work for our business and then work around those rules. So I think the challenge is the opportunity as well. So the greatest challenge, I think, is people going, listen, God, we understand where we're at. We've got this problem. Nobody's taking the problem. It's not going away. So we can sit down and we can lament this problem and go, oh, how woe is me. Or we can say, listen, let's drive this thing forward and let's make it work to our advantage. So the challenge is in itself an opportunity.
All right. And in 1 year's time, all right, next time this year, where are we going to be? All right. Are we all going to be sitting homeless out in the park, or, we're going to have jobs, we're going to have an economy? Where are we going?
Yeah, we're definitely not going to be homeless. We're going to be, basically in a year's time, I'm always a positive person. We're resilient as a nation. We're going to pick ourselves up. We're going to find new opportunities. We're going to do things a little bit different. But we're going to come out the other side, and it's going to be a better world from the learning experiences we've gone through, and we'll appreciate things a little bit more, but I'm positive we'll get back there. It might have its challenges, but we'll get there.
Absolutely.
All right.
I agree with that. I think, look, we've been closed for a month in our retail business. We closed the whole group because we frontline health workers. We're in the optometry business. And, the question was, well, what's it going to look like when we open again? And we opened again on the 1st. And I must say that it's as though nothing happened. People are back into it. They're really interested in, for us, the opportunity is that people are really interested in their health now. So they understand their health, and part of that health is our health. So again, look for those opportunities. Ours is we now punt really hard about how we do the testing and how clinically important it is, and people are interested in that. Having done a whole lot of online learning as well with conferences and things, people, they've studied how people are behaving once this is over in China, and people are much more interested in quality, not so much in the throwaway economy anymore. So they're more prepared to spend more money on things that are going to last much longer. Think about people staying at home. They're staying at home a lot. For us, they're working on their computers. They're looking at their phones all the time. They realize that their eyes are not as good as they perhaps thought when they went into isolation. So there's lots of those kind of things, and understanding how people are thinking are going to make us come through this much better. And I think in a year, I've got a really good feeling that things are going to be not only the same, but probably better. The key is to adapt. If you don't adapt, then you're going to die. It's as simple as that. You've got to think this thing through. Think about how you feel in isolation. How are you feeling at home? What is important to you? Because I promise you, if it's important to you, it's important to a lot of other people. And try and cater for that. See how you can put that on your business, and then give that to the people out there. All
right. So as we mentioned, we're here to be able to give people practical advice. From both of you, it sounds very rosy and nice. With a little bit of effort, God willing, everything is going to look great. But for the simple punter out there, if we give a little bit of a scenario, you have someone has a very small business in retail. All right, it's been closed for 4 or 5 weeks. They haven't had any income. There's rent which they need to pay. There's staff which they're either holding, they're not holding. Do they hold them? Don't they hold them? Clients. There's a whole world of things. What's your advice of how do they get back on their feet? What's some of the benefits, some of the things which they would be able to look into to be able to get their businesses back and going?
So Leigh-Anne, if you don't mind, I can give some practical things about what we did, and then you could get a bit more specific about how that could work.
Yeah, perfect.
So for us, there's a couple of things. Number one, if you have staff, there's something called JobKeeper, which is fantastic. In whose lifetime is the government paying a portion of your wages? It's never happened in history, and who knows if it will happen again. But that is really a massive opportunity. Imagine the government's paying your wages. It's incredible. So guess what? If your turnover is good, even if your turnover is not as good, you're not paying wages, or at least you're paying only a portion of that. So being smart about how you use that opportunity, and perhaps the cash that you save, you perhaps could buy, and Leigh-Anne will talk a bit more about this, but if you're saving money, then you could buy equipment that you'd be needing, and you could write it off straight away, and there's lots of things that you can do. But think about that JobKeeper. It's extraordinary what the government's giving us. They're giving us cash flow help if you're in a business. They're actually giving you your tax back. It's extraordinary. Never heard of that before. The other thing that the government's done is helped people who are paying commercial rent to be able to have a framework in which to negotiate rental reductions so that you can't get steamrolled by your landlords, you know, the bigger guys like the big shopping centers, and even smaller landlords can't just push you around and make you and force you to pay rent when literally you just can't. I think that the code is a great code. It's a great framework to work from. And it's something that you need to understand so that when you go to the negotiating table that you get the best result that you can. So there's a lot of tools that you can use, and Leigh-Anne will give you a lot more detail about that. But the thought I want to give you is that there's been a study that if you're in financial stress, your IQ goes down because you make decisions under pressure. When you make decisions under pressure, you don't make good decisions. And the one way even if you're not relieving the financial stress itself, is to understand the playing field, understand what you are entitled to, so that you come from a position of strength. The anxiety comes when you're not sure, when you feel like you're not in control. But being aware of the information helps you be in control and helps you make smarter, better decisions for the long term. And hopefully that's what this discussion will help you to do.
So Lance, if I can ask you, where did you know to search out this information?
Well, it's interesting because I've been in business a long time, so I understand a lot about how the old rules, and I talk about the old rules a lot because those are literally, a lot of those rules don't apply anymore. Fair Work have changed a whole lot of rules. Who would have ever thought the unions would have come to the table to change the rules about how staff work and when they're allowed to work and what you can do and what you can't do. But having done that, I have a fairly large network of people in the property business, in the legal business, in the accounting business, that I could draw on their experience and their knowledge about what they feel like needs to be discussed and how we need to go about things. And there's an enormous amount of information on the internet. And if you have the time, which you may have now because your business is closed, use that time to skill up and get the knowledge. Or you could contact someone like Leigh-Anne or myself, and I'm sure we would both be happy to give you some time to help you through, to answer some questions and help as far as we can. What I'm talking for all of us, I think, is that we just want to make sure that everybody gets the best result that they can and optimize all the opportunities that literally this thing has given. It's given us family time. It's given us time to think. It's given us time to rethink about the way that our businesses work and about how our lives work and what's important to us. Where before would we have a Zoom meeting? Now I can have staff meetings with 30, 40 people in one place where people don't have to travel. We did it the other day. It's fantastic. We can sit down, we can get the message out really efficiently and quickly. People were on their phones, people were at home, people were out. It didn't matter where they were, they could still join the meeting. So there's a lot of opportunities which, if we just take a step back, take a breath and think about, we can really come out of this better.
All right. And you found it very complex for yourself to be able to look and search into all these things? Meaning?
It is a complicated thing. Because it's not as simple as it appears. And Leigh-Anne, when she explains the detail, you'll see it's not as simple. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. There's going to be different business. Everybody's different. Everybody's business is different. And so everybody's solution might be different. But what we want to do is to help you with a broad view about what there is available. And just to, I guess, let you know that you're not alone. Everybody's in the same boat, effectively. But that's who is going to be the captain of that boat. Hopefully you'll be the captain of your own boat and you'll do well through this thing and push it through. Things like e-commerce. Think about how your business can just do better. And we'll talk a bit about that. But to answer your question, it is complicated. But I do also want to say that if you have staff and think about how you're feeling, and you can take that and give it to your staff times 10. They need strong, decisive leadership. And even a bad plan is better than no plan. So my advice is have a plan. you can always change the plan. You can always manipulate certain things if, as you become aware of other things, but have a plan. Show strong, decisive leadership to your staff. Show them that someone is in charge, and you will take the anxiety down, and in turn, your business will do better.
All right. Well, we're now going to go to the expert of all of these complex matters, the rabbi in the ATO.
Thanks so much for that introduction. The government has been absolutely amazing with the stimulus measures that it's actually given small business and even big business. And, if you know what you can actually use from the government, it's just going to help your business hugely. So I think after that introduction that Lance did about his business, I think maybe I should just discuss the different areas and so just to provide a bit of clarity around that. So the first one that really came up was what we call the big bank relief, okay? And that was, the government spoke to all the banks and said, you've got to help everybody, and they got to be able to get payment holidays on their loans. And that gave everyone, phew, I don't have to pay back my loan. That means I can preserve my cash flow in the business and actually do what I have to do, make this business survive over the next 6 months, however long it's going to be. So yes, we had the big bank relief packages where you could call your banks and get those payment holidays. Then they gave you what they called the cash boost. And that is absolutely phenomenal. And what that does is if you employ employees, it actually allows you not to actually pay the PAYG portion of the taxes that you deduct from their salaries. And that helps your business because it gives you cash flow into your business to help you manage to survive the next 6 months and get through these times. So it actually gives you some, and actually can be cash in your bank as well. It's not necessarily just a credit to your ATO account. Literally, you can actually get cash in your bank and that will help you survive the next however long that will be, and the governments are mainly talking the 6 months period to the end of September. That is anything from $20,000 to $100,000. That is a huge amount of cash that's available to assist your business in getting through these tough times. And it helps you also keep your employees on. It helps you pay some other costs and actually support local business by keeping up to date with paying the person that helps your business, the casual staff member or whatever, so that they can make a living. So the government's helped a lot on that side as well. There's other things that came out. The next big one was the job keeper. The job keeper is really important because what the government wanted there was to keep that relationship going between the employer and the employee. Because what was happening is the businesses were just saying, I haven't got any income, I can't afford any expenses, wage is one of my biggest expenses, I'm going to have to stand down employees. It's a pandemic, I have to stand down the employees. And what was happening is, through no fault of their own, businesses had to do that because they simply did not have the cash flow to actually keep those employees on. So what the government brought in this wage subsidy, sort of basically and it's called Job Keeper. And Job Keeper means the government gives you $1,500 per fortnight for each of your employees. Now, there is certain requirements. They have to be in your employ on 1st of March. They have to be permanent part-time, or at least a casual employee for at least 12 months, basically from 1 March last year. So there is a few requirements. Also, students that are not dependent on their parents and that don't get the job keeper unless they're 18 years old. So that's a recent change. And so what that does, it gave a lump sum amount of money to businesses to actually carry on paying their employees. Now, yes, it might not have been the full wage that employer used to get, but guess what? $1,500 per fortnight, and when you are able to put your loans on hold, is really enough to live. You can pay your, you know, you can put food in your mouth, you can pay the basics, and you can survive through this period. And so, and it kept the relationship really strong between that employer and the employee, so that hopefully in 6 months' time, when we come out of this dip and the economy kickstarts again, those employees will still be employed, still be getting their wages, and their wages will go back to normal. And that is a massive help to businesses. If you actually are eligible, and that means your turnover's dropped by 30%, there's certain tests that you've got to meet in order to achieve this. There's the basic test, where you actually compare March's income from this year to March's income last year, or April income this year to April's income last year. And it can be either on the cash basis, that's how you lodge your BAS, or on the accruals basis. Now, it's the actual turnover that they look at is what they call GST turnover. So if you were lodging a business activity statement and paying GST, it would be the turnover that you put on your BAS statement. So that's the income amount that you've got to have a look at. So if that drops, then you, by 30%, you are eligible to actually get the JobKeeper payment. Once you actually tick that box and you get that payment, you will get it for the next 6 months. Yeah. So that's a huge advantage to business. So for 6 months, you can literally get $1,500 per fortnight for your employees that are eligible to be on the scheme. And that's a total of $19,500 per employee. So you can see this is a massive help to help businesses get through this period over the next 6 months. It is taxable income, but then also your wages paid are tax deductible. So it makes sense. The JobKeeper payment is subject to taxes. So yes, you have to deduct taxes, but that's $192 on a $1,500. So we're not talking a big amount on taxes. So it really gives the employee $1,300 cash in their pocket every single 2 weeks. And the benefit there is it just helps everybody. So that's pretty much JobKeeper for you. That's a big help. And then there's also the ATO administration relief. And what that allows you to do is to put payments to the ATO on hold, or if you had tax payments that were due, you can put them on hold and get deferral right through to September. What's really important about that is it keeps the cash in your business. You need to keep cash in the business to survive the 6 months. So if you've got cash to buy stock, to sell stock, to set up your online selling platform, or to keep your business going, that means your business will survive. If you'd used all your cash to pay your taxes or your staff, you wouldn't, and you didn't manage to survive, you're not going to have a business in 6 months' time. So it's really important to preserve your cash flow. So take advantage of the ATO administration relief, put your payments on hold, and then keep this cash in the business. Also, if you employ apprentices, there's a 50% relief on their wages. So if you get JobKeeper, obviously you can't get that. But if you employ apprentices, the government wants you to keep your apprentices and continue their training program. And so they give you 50% of their wages backdated to 1 January. So that's also very generous. Things like what the JobKeeper, I'd just like to mention something else that I probably missed earlier on. You don't have to employ staff to get JobKeeper. If you're a sole trader, you are eligible to register for JobKeeper.
So that's exactly what I was going to ask about sole traders. If someone, they're a handyman or gardener or something like that, can they get JobKeeper? So
yes, they can get JobKeeper. They need to have a MyGov ID. They need to go log on to the ATO account, and they need to enroll. So first of all, they would have registered for it. Then they enrolled for it. And now you can actually, there's a third stage where you validate it. So you go onto your ATO account with your MyGov ID, and it's really an easy process. You tick enroll, and it just leads you through it, and you just put a bit of information in.
What's the eligibility for someone that is a sole trader?
Once again, you've got to show a 30% reduction in turnover, in income. And that's either on the accruals basis or the cash basis. Very important, because a lot of sole traders will be lodging on the cash basis, but on the accrual basis, which is your invoicing, you can look at that, because in times like April, when business was very bad, turnover dropped substantially. So you can look at your turnover in April, because we mainly see April's quite a good month to compare compared to the April in the previous year.
There's also been a bit of confusion, Leigh-Anne, about if you're down in March and you're getting a job keeper or whatever, and then let's say you're up again in May, people were concerned they were going to lose the job keeper, and my understanding is that it goes all the way through.
It goes all the way through. So once you are eligible, you get that payment every single month, as long as you go onto the ATO website once a month and you validate again all your employees and you give them the information they require. But it goes all the way through. And just if you don't make it in April and you don't make it in May, but you make it in June, you can still enroll in June, and you can continue to get those payments right through to the 27th of September. So it's a really big help. So
you only have to be eligible once, and you don't have to, they don't retest you again.
No, they don't.
Eligibility, and then you go the way through.
They do ask you every month, they're going to ask you for your current month's turnover as well as your projected turnover for the next month. But the government wants to monitor how businesses are actually doing. So that's why they're requesting that information. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get JobKeeper payment going forward, even if your turnover increases and business goes back to normal.
And then you were also talking about putting bank loans on hold, which is great. But I think a lot of people don't realize the banks are going to profit at the end of the day, and that interest is going to be capitalized. You're going to ultimately pay it, but at least it gives you a breather at the minute.
It gives you a breather. What we're telling all our clients is if you can afford to pay the interest, at least pay the interest, because that keeps your loans not increasing. At least it's staying the same as when we went into this period of hibernation, as they call it. So that's why I'm saying if you can, keep up to date with the interest. But most importantly, if you want to invest in your business, like fixed assets or online platform or anything like that, that's going to actually give you income. And that's really important. So you've got to get income. And that means if you can use the cash flow for that, well, then do that, because you want your business to survive. I'd also like to quickly add on the JobKeeper that if you are run your business through a trust structure, and you can also get it as an adult beneficiary of the trust, so you get it as well. You don't have to have paid yourself a salary, as well as if you run it through a company as a director. So every company, trust and sole trader is allowed, and partnership is allowed one business participant to get the JobKeeper payment over that whole period.
All right. What is available if someone they lost their job over this particular period of time? What are the things which are available to them that they'll be able to draw on to get through this time?
On the other side, we have the job seeker payment, and that's through Centrelink. And so that's what happened initially. On the first phase of all this, everyone went to Centrelink, and that's before the government came up with JobKeeper. So you can get one or the other. But so all the casual employees that don't get JobKeeper, or you're not an eligible participant, you're not going to be part of an employer that's participating in that, and you've lost your job, you can go to Centrelink. Job Seeker it's a really generous payment, and that includes youth allowance, parenting payments, and all that as well. And it's approximately, depending on where you are, about $1,100 to $1,200 per fortnight. Oh, wow. And part of that is a coronavirus supplement, and that's tax-free income, the supplement side of it. So it is equivalent. It's not exactly the JobKeeper payment, but it's similar to the JobKeeper payment. But at least it gives all those people a chance to get some money every 2 months, every 2 weeks. And I heard that there's an ability to take from someone's superannuation. They're able to tap into that as well. I mean, is that a good idea? Is that a complex idea? For someone that hasn't got cash flow, at least they can survive. So the government has allowed you to take $10,000 out of your superannuation between now and the end of June, 30th of June, and then another $10,000 from 1 July onwards it's about 3 months. So that only take it if you really need it, okay, because that is going to be your pension one day. So, but if you need the money and you short, then definitely that's a helping hand. And take it if you need a helping hand. The government has allowed you to do that. And you just log on to also, once again, your ATO account, and you have to answer a few questions. You have to show a reduction in hours or you lost your job. You can't just simply go on and get your $10,000. So you've got to meet a few requirements on that side. There's also rent relief of $2,000, and they can't evict people. So they really are looking after, if you're renting premises and that, they're looking after the tenants so that they can't be sort of kicked out of their rentals, and there's $2,000 there. Other things like casual employment, just because you've lost your job, don't give up. You know, get your resume done, do some training, you know, look for casual employment, because, and, you know, think a bit outside the square, go and have a look at businesses that are busier at the moment. Your bicycle shops, your, you know, there's other shops that are busier, and just see if you can get some casual employment there, because it's really good from a mental point of view to have a job and earn a little bit of money. And I think that's really important, is to keep healthy from a mental aspect. You don't want to lose your job and sit at home and then get depressed, because that's awful. You want to stay healthy, get out there and be positive. That's really important.
All right. If someone is struggling to be able to find out what they can do or they can't do, where would you both of them where would you tell them to look? Go on the internet, speak to friends, ask a professional. What type of a professional? What would be your advice?
There's lots of information on the internet, but sometimes it's a little bit too much. So it actually is quite confusing. So look at the internet with pleasure, but you're welcome to the Rabbi, if you make available my email, people can email me and I can answer some questions and help wherever I can, just to put people on the right track to see what they can actually do to help them through this unprecedented times and these challenging times.
All right. And Lance, where would you tell people to go?
It's the same really for me. I'm happy to discuss with people. Like I said before, it's not a one size fits all. I think just generally, if you have a job, speak to your boss. You should probably be receiving JobKeeper now if you have a job at the minute. If you don't have a job, Centrelink is a good place to start. Try and go in there and talk to someone. There is a lot of help. But I think the overarching message is we're here to help you, but at the end of the day, you also need to help yourself. You need to go and see what's out there, what opportunities there are for you. And the money that you're getting, if at all possible, use that to take a step back, to relax and think about your next steps. Have a plan. Like I said before, even if it's a bad plan, that's better than no plan. So have a plan, try and use this time, because people talk about time is money. It's the same thing. So use the extra money you have if you have any extra, or use the time that you have if you have extra time, which you probably will if you're not working, to leverage yourself and to give yourself the best opportunity to go forward. And that might be doing free courses online, skilling up in other areas where you could possibly take advantage when the job market does come up. I'm a great believer in that once an antivirus is found, that the economy is going to bounce. It might bounce in a slightly different direction, but I think the direction will be up. And there might be slightly different things that people can do rather than the things that they've always done. But use this time, use this opportunity, don't waste it. It's really a gift if you look at it in that way.
From an accountant, it's always important to have a budget. Whether from an individual, have a budget. Understand your income, understand your expenses. And if a business, make sure you also got a plan there. What is your working capital requirements? What cash do you need? Because you need to understand that to make good decisions. And we all have to be good at the moment in making decisions and use your money wisely. And as you say, it's a good time to upskill yourself and have a better business at the end of the day.
Quite
all right. And I'll finish off with some rabbinic advice. I'm not sure how the accountant, how the accountant and the businessman will agree to this advice, but my advice is spend wisely. We know that according to Jewish law, we have the obligation of giving charity. And the manner in which we give charity at this particular time, I think, is very, very important. The people that are in need, we always are going to take care of. I think at this time, our focus needs to be to make sure that people don't become those that are in need. And I would say that it's a beautiful time to spend your charity dollars in small local business. According to Jewish law, you are allowed to use money that you would usually give to charity to be able to make sure that someone has a job, that someone has work to do, that someone's able to put food on the table, because it's a lot easier as a society to be able to support people when they're working. And so the only advice that I have to give to everyone is, within your budget, spend, but spend locally. Coles are going to come out fine. All right, the big companies are going to come out fine. What we need to make sure that those that, you know, that they're sending their kids to the schools, the kids that are playing in Maccabi or in the different places, they're the ones which are going to be hit. Look for where you can spend your money wisely and locally, and that is considered charity, and probably the highest form of charity, because you're giving someone pride that they have a job, and you're feeding their family at the same time, and you're also getting something in return. So even if it costs a little bit more, and in some cases, even if it costs a lot more, we're all going to save at the end when our local community is supported and people have jobs. So with this, I'd like to thank Leigh-Anne and Lance for sharing the last half an hour with everyone. I think the advice which we all received is worth lots and lots of money. If anyone wants to be able to get advice, to ask questions, both of them are available. And there are also other people in the community that have mentioned to me that they're more than happy to give advice. There's a few lawyers that have said to me that if anyone needs advice and they can't afford to go to a lawyer, they're more than happy to help. So we wish everyone well and success. And thank you both for sharing your knowledge with us.
Pleasure.
Thanks so much. That's a pleasure.